I'm going to be honest, this is my favorite presentation to teach on because it's fun, it's lighthearted during a time where, this is the hardest time basically to stay on track with your health. And so I think the timing of this presentation couldn't be more perfect with Halloween right behind us and Thanksgiving and Christmas upon us. All right. So let's talk about this time of year, trick or treat. The holidays can certainly be merry and jolly. However, this time between October 31st and New Year's can be a difficult time to stay on track with your health. So that is why you're all here today and why all of the other individuals will watch this later on. Contrary to what you may think, the New England Journal of Medicine says that the average weight gain between Thanksgiving and New Year's is actually only 1 pound, which may shock a lot of people. We always assume 5-10 pounds during this time. However, those who are already experiencing major, holiday weight gain were those who were struggling with their weight to begin with. So this can pose, a challenge for those that are already struggling with their weight during this time. And then now on top of it, you have this. The good news, it's only 1 pound for those that are, in weight maintenance phase. It's not that much. Here is where the problem lies. Is we see that these excess pounds don't disappear along with the decorations, meaning that over the course of years, again, with looking at 1 year, 2022, 1 pound is not a big deal. But what we're finding is that 1 pound is not being lost. So we're working against, age here, we're working against the holiday factors. And so if you think 1 pound a year, not a big deal, but over the course of 10 years, that's where it really starts making a difference, that 10 pounds. Let's go back to that funny graphic here. The look when you get on the scale after Thanksgiving, with the dog here. I love it. All right. So just an important reminder, and what I remind my clients when I work with them one-on-one is that holidays are holidays, not months. And a lot of times we like to treat the entire period between, October 31st through January 1st, per se, or December 31st, as just the entire couple, months is our holiday times. What that important reminder is, you can certainly, enjoy yourself, indulge, but treat it as days. And that will help you a lot to manage that overeating, overindulging when you just treat it as days. If you really need to just circle, get a paper calendar and circle those days or highlight them to remind you of this, that could be really beneficial. And then the rest of the days in between, you get back to your regularly scheduled program of eating those healthy foods that we talked about a lot in the last class that I taught. So certainly allowing yourself to enjoy the day instead of turning that into months. All right. I don't know about all of you that are here today, but I can certainly say I'm guilty of a lot of these too. So don't feel bad if you can identify with any of these here. Here are the biggest excuses for eating unhealthy during the holidays. The first one is the holiday food shortage mentality. So this is basically the only time of year that I get to eat, and you fill in the blank. Pumpkin pie, pumpkin spice lattes from, your favorite coffee shops, eggnog, again, you could fill in that blank of whatever that food means to you during this time. What about this one? The sentimental value of food mentality. This dish reminds me of home or reminds me of my grandma's recipe when I was growing up. May not be the healthiest recipe, but just using that as a catalyst to, eat more of it because it reminds you of something sentimental. This is a big one for those that either, go to someone's house who's hosting for the holidays. Is I don't want to offend anyone, so I'm going to put everything on my plate and eat it just so I don't offend that person. Again, it could be a family member, it can be a friend. Certainly the last two, I would say, are the biggest ones. I'll start eating better after the holidays. That is anyone, a show of hands with cameras on, guilty of that one? If I'll just let myself go for a couple months and then get back on the horse January 1st. We'll talk a little bit about that, why that's, certainly an issue. But I'm sure everyone has said that at one point in their life, some period of time in their life. And then I'll just have one. That's all. It also could potentially lead to a disaster in terms of eating. Again, for those that are able to turn their cameras on or at least use the chat, can anyone identify with any of these excuses, if not multiple? Just kind of a show of hands. Either you could use your Zoom for that or the chat. I'm just curious. Oh, no one's responding. Okay, that's all right. Okay, so in order to navigate through these, I'm going to share some important tips for staying healthy during the holidays. Like I did last time, I'm happy to share, a PDF of this. So if I'm going a little fast or you want the presentation later, I will send this to Susan, so you have this. The biggest tip, or tip number one, I should say, for staying healthy during the holidays, balancing calories. Calories in equals calories out. Meaning, if you're going to eat a little bit more on those holidays that we talked about, not the holiday months, maybe it means that you watch what you're eating the rest of the day. That, if it's a Thanksgiving dinner, for example, you're watching what you're eating the rest of the day. Maybe it means you're exercising a little bit more to kind of offset the extra intake that you're going to be eating later on in that day. This notion of calories in equals calories out really helps us explain weight maintenance, which is maintaining the same weight that you're at, weight loss, and weight gain. If you are trying to lose weight, you do need to take in a little bit less or exercise a little bit more than what you're actually taking in. If you're happy with your weight, calories in equals calories out, you're going to stay exactly the same. And when we have weight gain, it means that we're eating a lot more than we're actually burning. So that's when we have a weight gain situation. All right, let's look a little bit at calories here, just to give you some reality of holiday eating. Research shows that the average American eats about 4,500 or more calories, or 229 or more grams of fat in their Thanksgiving dinner alone. Also, research shows that Americans eat roughly about 7,000 calories on Christmas Day. So this is a lot more calories than I would say most of us are eating on a regular basis. Okay, so what does that mean? Calories in. So let's look at this. I'm just giving you some examples to put this into perspective. Halloween candy, roughly, again, depending on what it is, of course, one mini Snickers or one mini piece of candy, so like this big, is about 100 calories. If anyone likes those grande, pumpkin spice lattes, you get it with steamed 2% milk and that whipped cream, that's about 470 calories. A medium eggnog milkshake, I know that's really popular in a lot of fast food places, or even at our Starbucks and places like that, is 679 calories. So what exactly would we need to do to burn off all these extra calories just to stay the same weight? That's not even to lose weight at this point. So if you were going to have 10 pieces of Halloween candy, that's 1,000 calories. That would equal to half a pound of weight gain per week, or 25 pounds per year. To burn these 1,000 extra calories, you'd have to do 1 hour of the elliptical, plus 60 minutes of weights, plus 1 hour of yard work, or stringing the lights up, which equals 3 hours of total physical activity just to burn the candy off. So I hope that this slide just puts things into perspective, that everything can fit into an overall healthy diet. You can absolutely eat, candy if you want. You can absolutely have the pumpkin spice latte, but what are you doing that rest of the day to offset those calories? Maybe it also means, ditching the whipped cream. Maybe it means switching your milk to non-fat milk instead of 2%. Maybe it's cutting down the syrup in your pumpkin spice latte. Maybe it means having candy, but only having 3 pieces instead of 10. So there are ways to fit it in, but I want to explain to you the amount of exercise that you're going to have to do just to offset those extra calories. And unless you have a lot of time on your hands and you're in the gym for 3 hours, which if you have that time, I would love to know what you're doing so I can copy you here. That's a lot of time to spend in the gym just for one day to offset that. Tip number 2 is be realistic. As a dietitian, I don't expect, and a trainer as well, I don't expect perfection from my clients, and I don't expect perfection from humans in general. We're not perfect. Even as health professionals, we're not perfect. You're telling me I didn't have a piece of Halloween candy. Of course I did. Do I skip days at the gym? Of course I do. So it's really important to be realistic with yourself. Focus on just maintaining your weight. If you're able to do that during this time of year, that's a win. I see somebody in January, I'm like, congratulations. And they're looking at me like, are you serious? But I stayed the same. And I'm thinking, you did great. That is exactly what I want to see during this time. Don't really focus so much on trying to lose weight, but just mainly preventing that weight gain is great. If you overeat at one meal, guess what? The next day when you wake up is a brand new day to start fresh. Say, you know what? I ate a little bit more at Thanksgiving than I wanted to, or Christmas Eve, whatever it is, or Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. And you know what? I'm just going to get back on the horse the next day. It's a brand new day. I'm going to be just fine. Don't let one high calorie meal be an excuse and that gateway, like we were talking about, that excuse of, I'll just wait to the end, till January 1st to, start fresh. No, just start fresh the next day. You're going to be just fine. You will be okay. Nothing's going to happen to you and you'll be just fine. It does take 500 extra calories a day on top of what you need. So let's say you need 2,000 calories a day or 1,500 calories a day. If you were to eat 2,000 calories a day or 2,500 calories a day for 7 days in a row, that would lead to 1 pound of weight gain. So in reality, really eating one bad meal, if you were to eat fine the rest of the day and just had one bad meal, I really don't even think you're going to gain that 1 pound, because assuming that you're eating fine the rest of the week. So don't, again, try not to strive for perfection, but also the other opposite goes, don't overindulge for every single day. Find that happy medium. Certainly planning ahead helps a lot. When we're not sure, what we're going to be eating or whose house we're going to, it really can, again, lead to disaster. So you're going to be just fine. And it really is hard to gain, 10 pounds in a week. It's really just that 500 extra calories. Okay. Tip number 2, again, being realistic here. Maintenance of your current weight is a big enough challenge during this time. So set realistic goals. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of SMART goals before. SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Just saying I want to lose weight, that's not a specific goal. How about a goal of I want to stay 150 pounds between the months of November and December 31st? That is measurable. We can measure that. How you get on a scale, we know. We have a timeline for that because it's November and December. That's a realistic goal. So just make sure, again, that you're not setting yourself up for failure, because that's when we get discouraged. That's when you throw the towel in, and that's when we start eating really bad or losing our fitness routine. I will say this. I hate the words New Year's resolution. I know hate is a very strong word, but I feel strongly about it. 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February. Do you think I want that for any of my clients or any of you lovely individuals that are on this call or watching later? No, I want you all to be successful. That is my goal for all of you. So setting goals instead of resolutions is much better. Maybe it's signing up for a gym now, getting ahead of that New Year's rush. Maybe it's incorporating more fruits and vegetables in your diet, whatever it is, and then coming up with a serving size. Get those goals going now. Do not wait until January 1st, because again, I don't want you to fall into that statistic of the 80%. Anticipation of food restriction actually sets you up for binge type style, eating over the holidays. So again, that excuse slide that we went over of I'm just going to wait until January 1st to do it. That actually leads to that binge style. I'm just going to eat whatever I want now, knowing that January 1st, I'm going to cut everything out. That's pretty dangerous. And again, can lead to those excess calories that you don't even need. All right. Here's a big one. Tip number 3, enjoy your food, but eat less. I absolutely believe in the moderation of foods versus the elimination of foods. I will never tell anyone that you cannot have that pumpkin pie. You can't have your grandma's favorite stuffing recipe. You can't have the ham on Christmas. What it comes down to is portion size. One tip that you can use, and if you're hosting, if you're one of the lucky people that gets to host, or you're going to somebody's house for the holidays, try to use the smaller plates. I'll show you a slide, the next one, a portion distortion of when we use larger plates, we tend to fill it with more things, right? So of course you want to finish everything on our plate. So just using smaller cups, smaller plates, smaller bowls. Maybe you're using the appetizer plate for the unhealthier items and then using the bigger plates for the healthier items. That's one way to kind of manage portion size. There are a ton of studies. I can spend actually a whole presentation on something called portion distortion. A lot of psychologists have done a ton of studies that show when we have bigger plates or bigger bowls or portions in front of us, we are eating more psychologically, not even realizing. So because it looks like there's less food on a smaller plate when in fact it's the same amount of food. So using those smaller plates, will help us fill it with more, again, giving us the illusion that we're eating enough, but it's the right amount actually. Okay. All right. I'm going to show you a few portion sizes using my hands. I know we did a little bit of this last time, but I still want to do a refresher because it's still important. This is a measuring cup. A cup is about a fist size right here. Of course, we all have different size hands, and I get this question all the time, but my hand may be bigger than yours. If you grab a measuring cup, which most of us have at home, just put it up against your own fist so you kind of have an idea of what that is. That's about 1 cup. So this would be, 1 cup of vegetables, about 8 ounces of protein, so meat, 1 cup of mashed potatoes, things like that. So right here, also rice as well, quinoa, half a cup. This is enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Again, we all have different size palms, but roughly about this much right here. So this would be half a cup. I encourage all of you, again, to grab those measuring cups, put it up against your own hand. If you want to use your cell phone and take a picture, so you always have that picture, that reference whenever you're dining out, that's always a good kind of recommendation. And then a 1/4 cup is your hand cupped like this. So that would be, a handful of nuts, 1/4 cup of cooked rice. So that would be about right here. I will show you using actual food items so you guys have an idea of what that looks like. And I can show you this. So this is half a cup. I was showing you enough to fit in the palm of your hand. This is cooked oatmeal. This could be cooked rice. Again, any kind of grains that you are thinking about, or even cooked vegetables. This is about half a cup cooked vegetables. So just to show you, again, what that looks like. And then if you're curious about a 1/4 cup, this is a 1/4 cup of nuts. So right here, you can see it fits perfectly in my hand cup. So those would be just some examples of actually looking at that. When it comes to protein, animal protein particularly, this is a deck of cards. I've used it so much I had to put some tape on it, which I guess is good. So it looks a little bit funny, but this is 3 ounces of cooked meat. So fish, poultry, beef, ham. Again, where it lies on your hand may be different, but for me, it's about the full palm of my hand, right at my knuckle right there. If you don't have, you don't want to use your hands, I always have my cell phone with me. I think most of us do nowadays. So you could always put the deck of cards up against your cell phone, kind of see where it hits and lies. I know on my phone, if I'm eating out or I'm at a friend's house or out of the country, dining out, from my finger all the way down to the end of my phone, that's about 3 ounces of protein. So you can always use your cell phone or your hand to help guide you as well. For tablespoons and teaspoons, if you were to do a hitchhiker's thumb, 1 tablespoon is the length of your entire thumb, roughly. Again, this is all rough estimates. I'm not expecting perfection here. And then a teaspoon is the top of your thumb to the top of your first knuckle, right where it hits right there. So again, you always have your hands with you. And so you can use that to give you a kind of a rough estimate on those holiday meals or potlucks or whatnot, to kind of get a ballpark range of what you should be eating. Okay. I don't see any questions yet, so that tells me we're doing good. Tip number 4, make half your plate fruits and vegetables. When grabbing one of those plates, most people do buffet style for the holidays, but some of you may do plated meals. It just depends, but I think most people are doing kind of buffet family style, things like that. So when grabbing a plate, always go for those vegetables first. We want to fill half of our plate with the veggies, and then a quarter of the plate is protein, and a quarter of the plate is starch, whether that's starchy vegetables like corn, peas, potatoes, or actual, rolls or rice or things like that, bread. So by filling half of that plate, we're going to get a lot of key nutrients, vitamins, minerals, fiber. That's really going to help fill you up. But what I see, and mostly in the American diet, and especially during the holidays, is we're filling our plate with mostly the meat and all of our starchy, our stuffing, things like that, leaving little room for those vegetables. And so as a result, we're not really getting that fiber. We're not getting full. Then, of course, we go for seconds and we're just eating way too much of it. So by filling your plate with more good, healthy foods, it leaves little room for the unhealthier foods, which is a great way to trick the mind. You're still eating a full plate of food, but you're redoing the portions of what's on your plate. Here's the thing. If you're hosting, again, it gives you a lot more freedom to ensure that there are healthy options. And I'm going to give you some ideas, in this presentation today. If you're not hosting, offer to bring something healthy. If you know that, I don't think there's going to be healthy options at this potluck or at this family style meal, offer to bring something. Then for sure there's a healthy salad that you're bringing. There are a lot of healthy salads that you can make that are fall inspired, with persimmons, with apples, with pomegranate seeds, walnuts, things that are fall friendly that, would go with the theme of what you're making. Maybe it's, bringing some roasted veggies, simple as that, or grilled veggies. But offering to bring something is always good to ensure that at least, I don't know what they're having and I know it's going to be unhealthy, but at least I got myself covered. When hosting, again, making sure that there's healthier options there. And of course, being mindful of appetizers. Maybe your appetizers can be some raw veggies, a platter with some ranch, hummus, some kind of avocado dip, something like that. You could also incorporate more veggies in there too, to really help you stay full with that fiber. Tip number 5, trim the fat, not the flavor. Here are some swaps that you can make during the holidays. Instead of frying, I know turkey mostly is deep fried, or frying vegetables, for example. Try baking, grilling, steaming, or roasting those proteins and those veggies instead. You're going to cut down a lot on that saturated fat, which is that harmful fat that leads to heart disease and diabetes. Just removing the skin on meats. I'll show you a slide in a little bit where I'll give you how many grams, you can cut down of skin on the proteins. So you could still cook the turkey and fry it and get those juicy flavors. When you open it up and remove the skin, a lot of those flavors will transfer onto, the actual meat itself. So really ditching, that skin will help cut down significantly. Maybe it's incorporating fish or plant-based protein instead of red meat, having that turkey, but maybe offering a salmon side could be great. And then you get a little bit of both, but then you get a lot of healthy fat in that salmon and less of the deep fried turkey or the ham. Plant-based protein would be things like lentils, beans, edamame, tofu, hummus, nuts, and nut butters as well. Okay, those would be your plant-based protein. Instead of heavy whipping cream, you can use evaporated skim milk to cut down on that fat. Substituting sour cream for non-fat plain Greek yogurt in either dips or frostings. Substituting eggs for unsweetened applesauce in your baking is a great way to cut down. I do want to make a plug that eggs are not bad per se, but if you're kind of looking at the whole meal and you're trying to cut down the fat somewhere, experiment with unsweetened applesauce. It gives it a lot of moistness in the muffins, for example, without all that extra fat. Using vegetable oils and olive oils instead of butter when cooking and flavoring foods is great, because again, you're going to get a lot of those healthy fats. Experiment with herbs and spices to flavor food instead of butter. You can, any herb or spice is fair game. Salt, garlic salt, and onion salt, celery salt are going to be your only ones that have salt. Other than that, you can, go crazy with all the other ones. And instead of, using frosting for your desserts, you can certainly think about using powdered sugar or fresh fruit in place of those fattening frostings. All right, I'll answer your question, Susan. I think at the end would be best because I'll cover that. Thank you for that question too. Let's look at some realities of holiday food here. When you have gravy, gravy has a lot of, I'm not going to read, all the calories and fat and everything because I'm going to be sending this out, but a ton of sodium. Definitely we have cholesterol in there. We have fat. So one way, if you can make the gravy in advance, I recommend doing that, putting it in the fridge. And then a hack is to take a knife and slice off the top layer. All the fat will come to the top. And this is, of course, before you reheat it for the meal. But allow all that fat to come to the top overnight in the fridge, and then you can slice it right off. And it looks pretty gross, but that's actually what we're eating when you make it the day of. So that's just kind of one way to knock that out. Let's look at the protein group, some healthier alternatives. Again, with that fried turkey, 5.9 ounces is about double this portion. Okay. We have 45 grams of protein, which is good, but 21 grams of fat is high. Look at the sodium in that. Again, a lot of sodium in there, a lot of cholesterol. That's about half of our cholesterol that we need in a day. So what you could do, again, is removing that skin. Maybe thinking about roasting the turkey instead of frying it. You still get all those flavors. You can make a nice marinade with olive oil and it will still taste great. Ham, instead of ham, maybe switching up to fish. You could use a lot of the same flavor profile that you would, but you're using a leaner source of protein instead, or going, just choosing the leaner cuts of the ham is also great. You could also use chicken or turkey, removing the skin. Let's look at the vegetable group here. Mashed potatoes is a very, of course, common dish during Thanksgiving. It's not the healthiest, but I have some tips for you of how to make it healthier. You can use skim milk, low sodium chicken broth, garlic or garlic powder, or Parmesan cheese instead of whole milk and butter. Those are just some ways to cut down on the calories and the fat. Just switching to sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes have a ton of vitamin A in them. I call them a centrum in a skin. Centrum is a vitamin. Sweet potatoes are packed with vitamin A, with vitamin C, fiber. So, and they do have starch, but because they have the other vitamins, they're not considered to be a starchy vegetable. So even just switching it up and doing mashed sweet potatoes or, cubed or roasted is a great substitute. Also, switching to baked potatoes is great because you can use that non-fat Greek yogurt as your sour cream. You can still use a little better, but it's much less fat than using the mashed potatoes. For green bean casserole, again, another popular dish during this time of year. Lots of sodium, lots of cholesterol, fat. So what you can do, these are just some hacks, are cooking fresh green beans with chunks of potatoes instead of creamed soup. You can actually, instead of those fried onion strings on top, you can actually use sliced almonds, which adds a nice flavor, crunch. Again, a lot of healthy fat, which we all need for heart health. And, or you can just make a nice salad to offer more veggie dishes instead of the green bean casserole. Roasted veggies are always nice this time of year. Very easy to make. You can really roast or grill any vegetables. So you can pick, gives everyone fluidity, in this group of what to make. Cranberry sauce. If anyone's had an actual cranberry before, just whole in a bag, it is extremely tart. That's why I always tell people, if anyone's ever had, cranberry juice raw, it does not taste like the cranberry juice that we think of, ocean spray and cranberry sauce. We have to add a lot of sugar to make it taste, good, because it actually is very tart. So as a result, cranberry sauce can have a ton of added sugar. So what are some alternatives for healthy, alternatives for the fruit group? Fruit salad is always easy. I have this cute picture of fruit kebabs, but you can definitely do fruit kebabs for your dessert or a fruit salad. And I'm going to give you a recipe right now on the next slide, which again, I'll give all of you when we send the handouts out, for a beautiful pumpkin dip that is on theme with this time of year. I know Halloween passed, but it doesn't matter because pumpkins are still associated with the fall. And you could do like, a dip of some sort. Even chocolate is fine, and do strawberries around. That's much healthier than a lot of our pumpkin pies and our cakes and things like that. There's also recipes for apple cupcakes, which again utilize that unsweetened apple sauce in there. So there are a lot of ways and alternatives that you can add fruit into your meal without doing the cranberry sauce. Here is a lovely recipe for a Greek yogurt pumpkin pie spice fruit dip. It is packed with calcium, vitamin D, vitamin A. Look at all these lovely fall spices: ginger, nutmeg, cloves, vanilla extract. And, really it calls for low fat, non-fat yogurt. So you're not going to get any fat in this. And that pumpkin puree, that's really, you can find anywhere this time of year at any major market. Delicious. I think, the prep time is 10 minutes. So this would be a nice thing you could either do for dessert or actually as an appetizer as well. Again, a healthy recipe that goes on brand with our holiday. All right, let's look at cornbread. This is the grain group now. We know that stuffing, again, depending on how we make it, doesn't have any cholesterol, okay, unless you add milk or something like that to it, which most people don't, but it can be pretty high in calories. So trying to make the stuffing either with, I actually didn't even add this, but with whole wheat bread instead of, white bread could add a little bit more fiber, which could be good. Or you can actually make a wild rice or bulgur stuffing instead. There's a ton of recipes out there with mushrooms, things like that, that you can add. The wild rice or bulgur or quinoa, brown rice will give you a lot more fiber and whole grains instead of actually there is cholesterol if you add the eggs and the milk. It says here 0. That depends on how you make it. But using the whole grains will be much better option, which is great. If you have dinner rolls, just simply switching to whole wheat dinner rolls is great. Again, for getting some more fiber in there to help you stay full and getting those whole grains in there. There are a lot of recipes online, so just experimenting. And let me tell you something too, most people don't feel bad, like, oh, no one's really going to like all this healthy stuff, at my meal that I'm hosting or I'm going to. But I can guarantee that everybody is coming to me individually saying that they wish that they could eat healthier during this time. So don't be afraid to experiment and showcase some new dishes, because I can guarantee that most people won't say, oh man, we don't have the stuffing this year. Most people will be really excited. Hey, I never thought that I could use bulgur as stuffing. That's awesome that you tried this. Hey, these muffins are really good. I didn't realize we could use applesauce. So I can guarantee you that most people are open to trying healthier versions of things. It's just someone needs to take the initiative. So maybe it's all of you, here on the call today, and those that are watching this later, is you being the one and the inspiration to inspire everybody else to be a little bit healthier during this time, using those sliced almonds instead of the onion strings. Most people would never think of that. So I think it really just takes all of us individually to take the lead on that. All right. Tip number 6, don't skip meals. This is by far, I think, the most important one. Is anyone guilty, I guess, show of hands, or, you can write in the chat, of not eating anything all day because you're going to overindulge in that Thanksgiving meal or, Christmas Eve meal, Hanukkah meal. I know I am. I used to do that in college. I would not eat anything all day because I know I was going to eat, and that's super dangerous thing. Why? Because when we bank our calories, we're going to eat everything tenfold. And that leads to a disaster, again, of overeating more calories than we actually need. So what I recommend doing is eat all your regular meals and all your regular snacks during the day. In fact, you can literally even eat a snack before you even get out the door, just to hold you over. So when you get to that meal, you're still going to eat with everybody else. It's not like you're sitting in a corner not eating, but you're going to find that you're so much more full that you will put less on your plate, which will help control portions, which will then control calories, which will then help you manage your weight. It's a cause and effect. So make sure that you eat your breakfast that day, your mid-morning snack, your lunch, your mid-afternoon snack. That way, when you get to that dinner, you've eaten about 4 times to 5 times already that day. So you're good to go. You don't need to eat so much that day. If it's a breakfast, of course, maybe eating something like a piece of fruit or something fibrous to help hold you over. We all know that skipping meals. Yep. Thank you, Susan, for letting me know. I want to make sure I wasn't the only one doing this, but yeah, I'm sure we've all done this at some point. If you're the one hosting and slaving away in the kitchen all day, again, make sure you eat, breakfast, make sure you eat. That way you're not slaving away in the kitchen, picking on stuff all day, and you've barely eaten by the time that meal comes. Fiber is going to be your best friend for helping you stay full. So things like whole wheat bread, brown rice, oatmeal, even eating a packet of oatmeal right before you go is great. Fruit, vegetables, plant-based protein. So I mentioned here hummus, nuts, whole wheat crackers with cheese. I mean, these are just some healthy options that you can eat throughout the day between your breakfast and lunch. You're going to find significantly, how much this helps you with your controlling your hunger at your meal. All right, let's not forget about drinks. Think before you drink. That's tip number 7. What you drink is just as important as what you eat. The number one source of added sugar in the American diet are our sugary beverages. Those are our sodas, our Gatorades and sports drinks, our sweetened coffee drinks. So I mentioned earlier, the pumpkin spice latte, things like that. And then our nectar drinks. Remember that liquid calories are also calories. Just because they're in liquid form doesn't mean that they don't contribute to weight gain, don't contribute to our overall intake during the day. So we want to try to just be more mindful of it. Notice I didn't say eliminate. I said the word limit, and I was intentional with that. You can certainly have beer, you can have wine, you can have soft drinks, holiday coffee beverages, your eggnog, hot chocolate. But the question comes down to how much are you having of it? And is there a better option? When it comes to hot chocolate, is there a lower sugar version? When there's a coffee beverage, can you swap out the syrups and reduce that? Can you swap out the milk? Can you ditch the whipped cream? So, there are ways to still have this, but cut the calories out. Here again are some realities of the drinks, caloric wise. Peppermint mocha, that's a big, I know Starbucks just revealed that they have all their holiday beverages as of Monday. Their peppermint mocha grande is 16 ounces, is 470 calories. A margarita, about 9 ounces. That's a pretty big margarita, but it still has about 408 calories. Eggnog, 1 cup without any liquor in it, 350 calories. So imagine, having a bunch of this, a beer, wine is about 100 calories, and you're having 3 glasses of wine. Well, that could add up to about 400-ish calories right there, just from the wine alone, not including the food. So it just comes down to moderation and thinking about those calories. What are some healthier alternatives to beverages? I don't want to just tell you not to eat these or to limit these, but what else can you have instead? Of course, water is going to be your best friend. Plain or flavored with added fruit, vegetables, or herbs. I love setting up a spa water station because I do host Thanksgiving with my family. We have about 40 people. And so look at all these beautiful drinks at the bottom picture and even the top one. You can set up a spa water station where either you prepare the spa water ahead of time in like a big, beautiful glass or plastic jug for everybody that everyone can just get. Or you can make it a fun activity and let people make their own spa water, label the cup so you're not wasting cups and do that. And it's a lovely activity. And I like to choose colors that are reflective and herbs and produce that go with the theme. So for example, for the fall, I'll throw cinnamon sticks and apple slices and let the water infuse overnight. And so it's an apple cinnamon water. People think it's sweetened. It's absolutely not sweetened at all. And then you could just keep refilling, the big jug when that's out for your guests. Also using red and green. So like strawberries and mint, for example, goes with the theme of Christmas. Or using, actually I like to use cranberries just visually. They don't really infuse well, but I'll throw cranberries and mint also in a nice jug to go with the red and green. And the cranberries are very synonymous with Christmas. So you can make it look really pretty. It does not need to be boring water, but look at just that picture down there. You know, how enticing does that look for your guests if you're hosting? If you're not hosting, again, you can, you know, also recommend this to your host also. I recommend just a pro tip here, whenever you're making spa water, it is better, you know, if you're not doing the spa water station, but you want to make it ahead of time because it's easier for you, let the water infuse overnight, because you'll get a lot more flavor out of it. If you try to make it an hour before your guests come, it's not going to be as flavorful. So try to infuse it as long as you can. There is no wrong way or wrong item to use when you infuse. I say whatever you like. I will let you know that the higher water consistency of the fruit, the better it's going to infuse. So something like citrus, grapefruit, lemon, orange, lime infuse beautifully. Cucumbers infuse beautifully. Blueberries do not. I've tried that. They don't work well. Watermelon, I know some of these are not in season, but watermelon, pineapple, mango infuse beautifully, because again, they have a lot of high water content, so they infuse great. You can do any combinations of any of those things and they work great. The cranberries do not infuse because again, you can't really cut them open because they're so small, but for visual effects, that works really well. And pomegranate seeds, I forgot I put that here as well. Strawberries, yeah. So these are just some ideas. I forgot that I put that on there. They visually look great. Rosemary is another one in thyme that you can actually throw the dried herbs that you can get at the market, and those are the fresh herbs, and those infuse really nicely too, aside from mint. So you can get really creative. You can also make spa water using sparkling water too, just plain old club soda, and do the same thing with that. If you want to have an alternative to soda, that would be great. And then of course, unsweetened tea and coffee, you know, having a tea and coffee station. Again, you can have a little creamer, that's completely fine, but that is so much better. Those 35 calories in the creamer, much better than that, you know, peppermint mocha that I showed you on the other slide. All right, great. I see a couple chat. Eliminating the additions, milk. No, so I did not say to eliminate the milk. I was saying to switch. The only reason I'm saying to switch from 2% or whole milk, these are my milk models here, and the yellow represents how much fat is in the milk. You can see this is whole milk on this side where my finger is, and this one is 2%. There's not much difference in saturated fat between the two, and there's quite a bit. So that is why I'm suggesting, if you're able to, depending on where you're getting the coffee, is switching to either 1%. Look how much less fat there is. And of course, non-fat has no milk, but you all are good at math. You know that 1% is half of 2. Okay. So I'm not saying to get rid of the milk completely, but just switching the choice of milk will help a lot. That's what I meant. Can you please provide the health benefits of alternative milks? I still recommend, and the gold standard is still dairy milk. Why? Because dairy foods have the most calcium and vitamin D compared to the other milk alternatives. We're actually, our next class in January is going to be all about bone health. So I'm going to cover a lot of this in that presentation. The next best and then the milk alternative will be soy milk. Soy milk is nutritionally equivalent. It's not exactly, again, it doesn't have that vitamin D. None of the milk alternatives have vitamin D. It is fortified. When anything is fortified, we're not absorbing it 100% because it's not naturally occurring. But soy milk has it's a complete protein. So high amounts of protein, and soy milk is very high naturally in calcium. That would be your next best option. Then I would put almond milk as your second best option. Of course, you want to choose the unsweetened, not the sweetened vanilla. That's where you're starting to get into sugar now. And then it doesn't become so great. Almonds are naturally high in calcium, but no vitamin D. If you do see vitamin D in one of your products at home, it has been fortified. I would put oat milk, hemp milk, coconut milk, and rice milk at the very bottom of my list. Oat milk comes from oats, which are a grain. You're not going to get any calcium, you're not going to get any vitamin D. It is very high in carbohydrates because it comes from a grain. Rice milk, hemp milk, and coconut milk are really only recommended for those that are allergic to almonds, allergic to soy, and allergic to cow's milk. So that's when you're in a dire situation. But coconut milk, very high amounts of saturated fat, no calcium, no vitamin D. So those I would never even recommend, to be honest, unless we have an allergy situation. Hopefully that's helpful for you. But just to make sure, I did not say eliminate. I did say to swap the milk alternatives there, just so you can cut down on the fat. Hopefully that was clear for you and answered your question. Okay, tip number 8. Just cook enough food, and this is really for those that are hosting versus those that are going to somebody's house, is cook enough food for the actual number of people attending. Holidays are one day. We don't want to make enough to feed everybody, all the people coming over, and enough for all of us the next day and the next day for the 3 days after. I get we don't want to cook. We're exhausted. We've been cooking for 3 days straight. We're tired. But just having enough for maybe like one more meal or 2 more meals the next day is perfect. Why? Because when we have so many leftovers, what's going to happen? We're going to get tempted to eat everything in sight, all that extra pie, all that extra stuffing, whatever the items are. So you have a couple different things. One, you can make enough for, the next day. The other thing is to send people home with takeout containers. Tell people to bring their own Tupperwares, or my sister, she's a chef actually, so she does a lot of the cooking for our Thanksgiving. She found these really cute containers from Party City, or you can go to any party store, Target, I'm sure even, and get these cute little Thanksgiving to go tins that are even themed or Christmas, and send people home with stuff. Or, again, have them bring their own Tupperware if you want to just make it easier for yourself, and send people home with stuff, out of sight, out of mind. When that whole extra pie is sitting in the refrigerator, what's going to happen? Well, I want one piece. Oh, maybe I want one piece again. And that's just, again, going to lead to extra calories. So you make enough, but not too much. Have that excuse of, oh, it's snowing, or, oh, we can't get our car out because we're snowed in. We're lucky that we live around here. So we have good weather. Exercise helps burn off extra calories and fat consumed during the holidays. Of course, exercise helps increase our energy and lower our cravings and keeps you feeling jolly. Don't wait until that January 1st to start moving your body or join a gym. I already told you I don't want you all to fall in that statistic of, I'll just start January 1st. Get going, ahead of time. This is a big one for most people. I always want everyone to just do an activity that you enjoy. If you hate playing basketball, don't play basketball. If you like playing golf, play golf. If you like going on walks or hikes, again, we have access to a lot of trails and wonderful walks along the beach. Do that, do something that you enjoy. If you like just throwing a YouTube video on in your house for 10 minutes, great. There is no wrong activity that you can do. It just needs to be something that's going to get your heart rate up. But I always want someone to do something that they enjoy doing, because if you say you're going to do something else that you don't really like, if going to the gym is not something you like, don't do it. Do something that you enjoy. Aim for at least 30 minutes daily. Again, something to get your heart rate up. So if you've been walking pretty frequently for a while and you're not really coming back sweaty, maybe it means you need to start jogging lightly, or doing more stairs, or going a little bit longer, but you want to do something that's going to get your heart rate up. Make it a family affair. If you have family coming into town, or you're alternatively going somewhere, make it, a family hike or a family walk or a family yoga session, and throw a YouTube on all together. it makes it just so nice to be able to exercise with others, and especially a great way for everybody in the family to move their body. So just giving you some ideas. Bike rides, of course, kayaking in the bay. I mean, we have so many options in San Diego. Tip number 10, stay satisfied, not stuff. A great tool is called mindful eating here. Some of you may have heard of it. Is it does take 20 minutes for your stomach to send the signal to your brain that you're full. So just sitting after that, let's say you get that first plate and you sit down and you're eating, time yourself. Grab your cell phone if you have a watch that does it, anything. And you can actually practice this ahead of time. I would practice this before the Thanksgiving and the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day meals. Is see how long it takes to eat your meals. If you're eating way too fast, we're not allowing that stomach and brain connection to occur. And so as a result, we actually overeat. So what I would suggest doing is you get your smaller plate or even your regular plate, you eat and sit there for 20 minutes, talk with your family. How's life going? Catch up with people and look at your clock. If it's been 20 minutes, reanalyze your hunger. Are you really still hungry? Most of the time, you're not actually going to be, and you're going to be so shocked at yourself that, wow, I can't believe that this one plate of food filled me up. That's wild. I didn't realize. Sometimes you're actually going to be physically hungry because guess what? Maybe you skipped lunch accidentally. Maybe you didn't eat enough during the day. If after 20 minutes, you're still hungry, go back to the buffet or the family style, whatever it is, and load up on those veggies. Okay. So use that same plate method that I gave you earlier. And then you're going to just feel so much better that you're not feeling that Thanksgiving full feeling where you feel like you're going to throw up because you're so full. Or maybe you're so full, but you still eat dessert despite being so full. So it's really important to be in tune with your hunger levels. Can you come back and tell me in January what types of scents and smells and spices you tasted during your Thanksgiving meal, your Christmas meal? If you can't do that, you ate too quickly. Okay. So definitely, really be mindful about your food choices, what's going on your plate, and how fast you're eating too. Practice setting limits. If someone insists, oh, you have to try my pie, and then this person, but you have to try my muffins, just let them know, you know what, I'm happy to have a little bit of each, but I just can't have a full slice right now. Or split the slice of pie with your significant other or your child or whatnot, grandchild, and just really practice setting those limits. There is nothing wrong with saying no. You're not offensive, maybe offending them. Maybe you can take it home for the next day. But it's okay to say no. You don't always have to eat everything that's in that meal. And then absolutely, I suggest not grazing around the buffet because that leads to disaster right when we're around there. Tip number 11, reward yourself and stay positive. Maybe it's as simple as having a jar and in money, right? And depositing money every single time you make a healthy swap. Every single time you exercise, I'm putting money in there. And then when the holidays, come around and there's sales in January, buy yourself a vacation or a nice piece of clothing because you did good. That's going to help you stay motivated during this time of year. Of course, do not be hard on yourself. Stay positive. Don't stress if you slip up. If you didn't get to work out that day, that's fine. If you overindulge yourself, if you had that extra piece of pie, nothing is going to happen to you. You're going to be just fine. Try not to feel that guilty feeling because it takes days of overeating and that 3,500 extra calories a week just to gain 1 pound. So that one meal is really not going to derail you. Okay. And then tip number 12, don't skip the sleep. Sleep is extremely important. Aim for about 7 to 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep per night. Adequate sleep helps control our weight, helps keep the immune system functioning optimally, reduces feelings of stress and stress-related illness, and helps boost your mood. It also helps control your hunger hormones.